Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to be here with you again in this DanzArtE TV from Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm so happy to be here with you today because I have this evening this wonderful performer that I really admire a lot. And he is David de Alba. How are you?
Finally, we do this show together now for the American audience or English-speaking audience everywhere in the world.
Yes, all the time. It's like really, it's like for me, it's a big honor to have David with me because it's like I really admire all the things that he has been doing in his career as a performer, and it's wonderful. Tell me a little bit about all the things that you have been doing. For example, he was one of the performers at the famous Finocchio's nightclub in San Francisco. Tell me a little bit about your career, please.
Well, first when I came from Cuba as a little boy when the Castro took over, I went to school in different places in this country, and finally I went to take 2 years of college, but they found out because of some kind of a program to see what we were best at, and I won half a scholarship at one of the best beauty schools in Chicago by the name of American School of Beauty Culture. So I became a cosmetologist, and then I also took special courses in wig styling in a very famous wig shop in Chicago, where they made their own wigs, very expensive wigs, like $500 wigs in those days, from Germany and Italy hair, Italian hair. Anyway, so now I became a licensed cosmetologist, but I also performed dancing. I did modern jazz dances, cha-cha-cha, mambos, all kinds of
So
things.
tell me, it's like you learned to dance in
In Cuba, I took lessons
Okay.
in school, in grammar school, but in Chicago, I also took singing and dancing lessons without knowing I was going to end up at Finocchio's someday. So now I am dancing in nightclubs, Greek nightclubs, Italian nightclubs, different places. Even television shows in Chicago for the Latin American Latin TV stations. Now, one of the better known hairdressers in Chicago said to me one day when I was walking from the subway to my house, he knew I was a hairdresser already. I want you to come to my house because I want to make you up because we're having a special Halloween ball at the Aragon Ballroom, and I have in mind who you're going to resemble. So he made me up, and he says, you resemble the great Judy Garland, who still was alive. So he said, can you perform as her? I said, well, first of all, I don't have the arrangement. He says, and I don't lip sync, I sing. So he said, okay. So we take, in those days, there were records, no CDs. We take her recording, and you sing over her voice like a duet. So when you come out, sing with her. And so I had to get some kind of costume made, and then because I never did female impersonations before. So now I become what they call in Chicago the male Judy Garland. So the word got out. I was the only boy doing Judy.
How old were you? when
I
that
was
happened?
about 19.
Oh wow.
So now
Very young.
I'm very young, and the other people, the other impersonators were lip syncing to Edie Gourmet, to that one, but
Most of them, yeah, they
Mostly.
do love lip singing.
so once in a while there was an older one who was a comedian who worked live, but it was just very rare. So now I am doing a show every Sunday in a very famous nightclub called Chesterfield, and doing Judy, and also dancing sometimes as a boy dancer. So I shifted back and forth. The real Judy comes to Chicago 3 times. The last time I got to see her in person, but after the show was over, she came and she said, did you like the way I sang? I said, of course. Now my mother, who was in front of me, she was very elegantly dressed and done by me with her hair and everything. She says, will you please kiss my son? And Judy kissed me here. And then Judy realizes, oh, this is your mom? Now Judy changes her eyes to Dorothy Gale of Kansas. She becomes the little girl from The Wizard of Oz, and she says to me, how I wish I had a mother like you have, because I know about Judy's life prior to books written before she died. Judy's mother made her work very hard and introduced her to, with the help of the MGM, to sleeping pills to keep her going and uppers for the movies. So Judy never cared for her mother. That's why when she said that about my mother, I will never forget.
But you were so lucky to have a
A
mother, like yours.
you have. I wish I had a mother like you. And then of course I said, in those days there were no cellular phones. I don't know why I had a playbill, why I didn't say please sign here, or bring a Polaroid camera and have somebody take a photo. Foolish teenager. But I did say to her, I do perform impersonations of you every week in Chicago. And she says, do you like me that much? I said, of course I do. Then she said, I would love to see you perform. Unfortunately, I have to go on tour tomorrow, so I won't be able to see you. Thank you, darling. She gave me a kiss and she said hello and goodbye to different people waiting in line. I said to my mom, wait here. And I ran to the outside the theater because the limousine was waiting for her and her two children, Lorna and Joey, by Sid Loft, which was one of her husbands, because Liza Minnelli was with Vincent Minnelli. Anyway, so she's kissing Joey and Lorna, and then she throws a kiss and the window goes up and the limousine leaves. About 8 months later, Judy passes away in London. And I said to myself, oh my God, now this tribute done to her before she died, she knew I did her because I told her, I am going to continue. And the tribute became bigger and bigger to the extent that I own one of the most unique and rare Judy Garland Oz theatrical memorabilia in the country. And that'll be another story to film sometime.
Yes, it's like that's
A museum.
incredible. I'm just so happy for you that you had the opportunity to meet. Yes,
to meet her, because
that
not
that's
everybody can meet.
incredible.
Not everybody. Like I said, some of these guys who do Elvis, they never got to meet Elvis. So if you can meet the star that you idolize, like I also met Olga Chorens, the Cuban singer I imitated, and she saw me perform. That's a different story. That to me was a double
You're very lucky.
honor.
Yeah,
Very lucky.
you are very lucky.
Very
yes.
lucky.
And well, and you know, I want to tell you, it's like really all the memorabilia and everything that collection that David has is just incredible. I think your house must be a museum because it's very. It is.
It is a museum.
It is, but open to the public one day, really, because it's like I haven't seen all this collection. Is incredible. It's like, when did you start to have this collection?
Well,
Judy Garland?
I started when I first then met. That's a long story. My long partner Paul Reiner, who passed away 2 years ago, when he heard about my passion for Judy in San Francisco, he started buying things for me in different stores, like lobby cards that were in the theaters and so on. Then we went to the Judy Garland auction in Los Angeles, and I bought real things that belonged to the real Judy, like her shoes, costumes, musical arrangements. But then Paul and I, we kept buying dishes, and the Oz collection grew and grew and grew and grew. And you know, and sometimes the shrine is lovely, but then the shrine is also sad because represents a dead star and represents also a dead loving partner who helped me create this and who also videotaped my shows. If it wasn't for Paul, I wouldn't be on YouTube anywhere. He even videotaped me at Finocchio's, which was very rare because Miss Finocchio didn't allow people videotaping. But she liked me and she liked Paul.
And she allowed you to
She allowed you to do it.
Well,
Thank God for
let
that.
me tell you, it's like I saw some videos, and it's just, I'm just amazed of what Finocchio, the club was, but this show was just incredible. It's like most of the people, they say is like, if you go to San Francisco, you have to go to the Golden Gate and go and see the boys at Finocchio's.
Yeah, the Golden Gate Bridge and the Puerto Pinocchio.
Yes.
That was the two emblems.
That's incredible. It's like really people from all over the world came to see the show.
And along, because we had the Grey Line tours that came from different parts of Europe and South America, but also famous movie stars. This is what made it even more interesting to have people like Liberace, Phyllis Diller, Debbie Reynolds, Marilyn Monroe, Robert Wagner, Natalie Wood, and the name goes on and on. Betty Davis, Joan Crawford. Oh my God, what's happened? Sophie Tucker. I mean, all the stars of yesteryear were there.
Yeah.
At one
Tell
time
me,
or
how
another.
do you get to Pinocchio? From
Well,
Chicago,
so-
how
so-
do you decide to go to
so-
San Francisco and
So working
get to
Finocchio's
Pinocchio?
in Chicago, people tell me, if you want to hit the Mecca, you better go to Finocchio's because that's the Mecca of the impersonators. It's like a Carnegie Hall for them. So I thought, well, I gotta come for here. I can do shows. People love me in Chicago. In fact, the last song I did when I said goodbye was San Francisco, Here I Come by Judy, when I did my last performance at the Chesterfield Club. Anyway, so I arrived in San Francisco and I got a job at a very well-known wig shop. And I got to meet the entertainers at Finocchio and tell them, I do wigs. Oh, you do? And I'm also an impersonator. I can do Judy and Liza and this and that. So now I start doing most of the people's wigs at the show. And by getting my foot at the door, they said, well, we have to tell Miss Finocchio about David, our hairdresser. Miss Finocchio tells me one day, I understand you also perform. What do you do, my dear? So, oh my God. I said, oh, Miss Finocchio, I used to do this and that. He said, well, in my show, I want you to be yourself. I don't want any impersonations of anybody. So if I hire you, I want you to sing in Spanish because we have many tour buses from South America, but I also want you to sing in English so they know you're bilingual. So about 3 weeks later, after that little talk with her, I was told to come for the third show to audition. And of all things, I auditioned, and this song became my nickname for the rest of my life with this performance because they loved it, because they were watching from the wings. They were singing, La vida es una tómbola, ton, ton, tómbola, la vida es una tómbola, ton, ton, tómbola, de luz y de colores, de luz y de colores, y todos en la tómbola, ton, ton, tómbola, y todos en la tómbola, ton, ton, tómbola, encuentras un amor, tómbola. But the thing is that the MC purposely or accidentally didn't turn the mic on for me. So when I'm singing, I hear people saying, I don't hear you. Then they say from backstage, turn the mic up. So I turn the mic up and then they hear me. I didn't hear from Miss Finocchio for about a week and a half, so I said, I'm not going to bother. I keep doing the wigs. One day, David, she said something like Joan Crawford, this is Mrs. Finocchio. Would you like to be part of my show?
Wow.
I said, yes. Part of your show, yes. When can you start? I said, oh my God, I don't have any costumes, music. So then my mother said, what, we have to get you. So then we bought some things off the rack, and then I had some musical arrangements from Chicago, like La Tombola, and another song that I used to sing called I'm Gonna Live Until I Die, which became my theme song at Finocchio. And I also had Noche de Ronda, que triste pasas, que triste cruzas por mi balcón, which I sang in Spanish in Chicago. So I took 2 or 3 arrangements, and then meanwhile, Mr. Bill Buller, the pianist, says, come to my house and we'll start. So arrangements became the novelty, fancy medleys, not just, so, and then I found out that, well, I knew that because they were Italians, I would better do something like Arrivederci Roma, goodbye, adios, au revoir, because the women sang the Italian owners were just in heaven. So I didn't want to play the fool, I played the right, but
tell me one thing, is like when you went to the audition, was already in the show? Was at the moment and the show was on the third show?
Yes, I was on. It was not an audition like doing.
It was a show already.
It was a show already with audiences there.
Wow.
What she used to do, and I like auditions on Broadway, they audition you in front of 2 producers and nobody. She wanted to see the reaction of the audience.
The audience, yeah,
But-
very smart.
But
yeah.
of course, because she heard that David performed, she took a chance that I was not going to lay an egg on the stage. You know, and I was very pretty. I was about 21, you know, and young, you know, I could sing in a high voice, you know, so everything went the way it should be. So now I become the, you know, the so 4 shows a night. Of course, learning with the best backstage. They would tell me, Ray, when you do the wig, although I was a wig stylist, do this for the show and put all kinds of tricks about makeup. I learned from the old timers about all kinds of things, and that embellished me. And of course, not everybody got along well there, but the ones who did like me, and vice versa, it was like family. Because after the show, we would go to eat together at Chinatown, or they would come to parties at my home. The Paul gave beautiful parties, food. So they became like family members. Sadly, all of them have died except Rene, which I haven't seen for many years. He lives in Rene de Carlo. He was the Mexican international dancer. He lives
in Mexico
He lives in Mexico City, but he's now retired. He's very old, so he doesn't perform anymore. But other than him, everybody in that cast passed away. Laverne passed away 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. So I'm the only one left alive. And as I go on, and many historians have filmed me throughout the years, I keep keeping the legacy alive so people can hear about Finocchio, some of those wonderful boys that were in the show, that were comedians, singers, dancers. We had, of course, a baby grand piano, and with Bill Buller, one of they had different piano, but he was toward the end, the one who played for me for that show. And then we had a tenor sax and a drummer. So we had live musicians. They were not like even as fancy as the shows are in Las Vegas. Some of them are actually pre-recorded music.
Yeah.
There was live musicians with live arrangements, and we had, so it would have been cheaper to be pre-recorded because you go to a studio, record all your music, and that's it. But we had to have arrangements made, and it wasn't cheap even in those days to have for 4 pieces: bass, tenor, sax, drums, and piano. 4 pieces.
Yeah, no, it used to be like that before. It's like they have live music.
Live music.
Well, now it's like just a few shows.
Once a few shows, very famous person who has 25 pieces or 30, but other than that, even the fancy shows have pre-recorded music in which the performers sing, but to tracks, not to live musicians.
For how long did you perform at
So I was there from 1971 to 89, and here's what happened. I was there for about 3 years steady, but when the contract ended, it's a long story, she says, I want you to know, at Finocchio's, look at Mr. Finocchio's way of thinking. We do not fire people, we let them go. I said, well, what's the difference? So I'm going to let you go, but you will be what I call my coming back artist. Anytime I need you, I will call you. And she did. Constantly. If Laverne got sick, if Carol Wallace, the MC, David, back and forth. To the extent that the boys in the show said, used to call me, David is Mr. Finocchio's old shoe. So I said, Mr. Finocchio, the boys tell me I am like an old shoe that you can call anytime. And she had the answers ready. She says, yes, but you tell them what's more comfortable, wearing a pair of old shoes or breaking new shoes all the time. So you are the only one I call back. Now, I had a chance, which I blew. Toward 3 years before 1989, she wanted to get rid of Carol Wallace, the MC, which I don't know why.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Why?
So because Miss Finocchio was, but the same way she terminated me, she wanted to terminate. So I go there on a Saturday night, and I said to her, are you in a good mood, Mr. Finocchio? Because it was almost the third show, there was that bitch. She said, yes, I am very, she acted like a little girl then. I said, may I impersonate you? She said, oh, yes, please. I said, you know, when the boy comes to apply for a job, I never hear you say, do you sing, do you dance? The first thing you say is, may I see your legs? You want to see they got pretty legs. Really? I do that? Now she changes from a little girl, she becomes cold. And she says to me, do you see Carol? Yes. Would you like to replace him? Well, Carol was my friend. My heart says yes, I would like to, but no. My mind said yes, I would like to replace, but my heart says
no.
I can't do that to a friend. Okay, if you don't want to, it's fine with me, David. I said, but Miss Finocchio, he's so good. Never mind, never mind. Next day, she got rid of Carol Wallace, and she hires, of all things, a woman. But the place is known for men dressed as women. So she hired this woman, very nice, Greek lady. I think she passed away, Sophia Petrikis. And every time she went on the stage, she said to the audience, I'm the only woman in the show. They didn't believe her because she thought the other boys look anyway. So I said to Carol, you see, Carol, you're foolish. You should have taken the job. I said, well, but if I took the job, you would have said, David,
you're gonna lose a friend.
You lose a friend. So I lost the job. So I did. She didn't give me the job at the MC because as a punishment, because I said, how can you take Carol? But then she did call me, and then Sophia Petrikis will introduce me as a singer. And by that time, Laverne retired, so I took the star spot at the end, and I closed the show.
Oh, wow.
But I could have done the MC job, but then that's what happened. So I said to Carol, you see, there's a pay to be a good friend. Because I cut my head off, and in show business, you know, you don't get a chance twice, especially in that club. So anyway, but at least I had a wonderful time, and I can still talk about it.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah, and it's like you mentioned, it's like there are a lot of videographers, and they come from different parts of the countries and different countries to come and record.
To record for 2 or 3 days, for hours and hours.
Yeah, that way it's like they have all the
archival thing, you know.
Stories.
And I said to them, you better not keep this in archivals like for Yale University. They are archived. I said, because if you have archived that in some place is going to get dust, I said, please put it out so that people who are still alive, who know about Finocchios, they can enjoy it. Otherwise, by the time those things are out and everybody's dead, they'll never know who Finocchio was. So so I keep saying, please make it, and also people know I'm still going.
Yes.
Halfway
well,
going.
And he has a lot of information and really great stories about the different things that you live and the performances. And it's like
all these anecdotes, they go on and on.
Could you tell your web pages and your media
for
and
example,
everything, that way the people can know a little bit more about you?
There's 2 Facebook pages done in a tribute to my art form. One out of San Francisco called the Cuban legend David de Alba, and one out of South Africa by Jacques Duran is called David de Alba International Fan Club. And then plus I have my beautiful David de Alba website that my late partner Paul Reiner created. So there's all kinds of information about me. But actually, when you go to YouTube and just put David, then DEALBA, everything comes up from interviews that have been aired to actual footage from Finocchios, plus shows I did here in Las Vegas, in theaters and so on. So it's a lot of things.
Tell me a little bit about your shows in Vegas.
Yeah, in Las Vegas, when I first came here, I thought, well, I played different, the Winchester Theater and some of the different library theaters. When they found out I did Judy, I said, well, okay, it's going to be a very fancy Judy Garland act, and that's just a bunch of songs, but I would narrate stories about when I got to meet the real Judy, plus doing some of the narrations that Judy Garland did herself about her meeting Marlena Dietrich and so on. And then, of course, I spoke in the show about my collection at home. Plus, I impersonated her doing some of the songs that she made famous. And I said, this particular song, I own the 35-piece arrangement. And, so I was playing. So it became more like a history class. Sometimes children would come, not children, but teenagers would come with their parents after the show, and I would say, oh, is Dorothy alive? I said, oh no, Dorothy, her name was Judy Garland, and Judy Garland passed away. Oh really? So that movie, Dorothy, she's not alive. So I tried to explain that no, Dorothy's not alive. It's an old movie from the 1930s. So I become like my mother used to tell me, like a history teacher. because I'm actually performing but teaching history, and then some of the fans that were hardcore fans, I don't have to teach them anything, but the ones who are light fans of Judy who didn't know much about her, when I mentioned about this and that, I said, oh really? Oh, after the show or during the my performance, I would be, and I would sing sometimes, they would say, why don't you sing Smile, a song that Judy sang. I also did Judy dressed as a hobo and as a clown, which was a very difficult act because you had to make yourself look all dirty looking, and But I did the glamorous Judy, and then plus of course in the shows I also did a tribute to Pinocchio's as Boy Chick, which was the way my act was called, a boy doing a chick. That was Paul's creation, my partner, Boy Chick. Now David de Alba was a creation because my real name is Eri, Heri. So the stage name in Chicago was Eri del Valle, which means of the valley. But when I went to Pinocchio's, the MCs couldn't pronounce Eri. They would say Harry or Eric. And so Paul says, we have to stop this. So he took David from the Bible and Alba of the Duchess of Alba from Spain. So David de Alba was created. And then Carol Wallace says, now that you have a new name that I can pronounce, I said, boy, you should learn Spanish the way you can pronounce Eri. Then I'm going to make a special introduction. So I said to Paul, my God, I wonder what he's going. So that night he says, and he hit it right on because it describes me to, I guess saying English to a T. He says, let's bring to the Pinocchio stage the warm and charming personality of David de Alba. Wow. And I was charming and I was warm. So he hit it right on, and I didn't have to tell him about it. All the introductions were told by the entertainer. This is the way I want you to announce me. This was Carol's created for me. So I said, thank you, because I am warm and I'm charming. I still remain that. I haven't changed.
That's wonderful. No, that show was incredible in the cast. It was like incredible. Tell me a little bit about the cast.
The cast, we have, of course, the beautiful Laverne Combs, who was the American star singing. I call him the Encyclopedia Britannica of songs, because he sang every kind of song you can think of. And of course, he looked very elegant. His introduction was, I don't know who created that introduction, but anyway, it was, let's bring to the stage the form and the grace of form of the sophisticated, I forgot now, I'm having a senior moment, but it's a very fancy introduction, maybe I can think later. The form and face and grace of our sophisticated of song, the incomparable Laverne Combs, something like that. It was a very long introduction. I haven't done it since 1989, so no wonder I forgot. Yeah. I'm sure I'll forget, I'll remember later in my dreams. Anyway, so he would sing all this, and he would sing he was a baritone in real life, so he would sing in a soprano voice. So when he came out singing, the women thought it was a woman. They didn't think. But then he learned as he got older, he got this trick from one of the other performers, which he didn't want to accept, Elton Paris, who did a split voice. So toward the end, Laverne would sing the first, in some of the songs, the first chorus in the high voice, and then he would drop to a male voice in the second chorus, and the people would look and said, oh, they were in shock. Or he would do the whole song as a female, and then in between songs, he would say, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And the women would, oh, it's a man in drag. So this, I said to him, I think it helped because, first of all, when I first met Laverne, he looked so pretty that the women in the audience, they held the husband's hands in fear because they thought he's going to steal. But then as Laverne got older and he did the split voice, I said to Laverne, now they don't seem to hold the hands because they know this is a guy in drag. So you put them at ease. I said, but when you were young and I saw you in 1969, you look so beautiful. Even I had a hard time believing you were a boy. So that was the trick of the trade, that the boys, the ones who did it very well, did not look like men in drag. like some of the
Yes.
boys you see on RuPaul that look like Men in Drag to me.
Yeah, I saw a TV show about Laverne. He's like walking on the street of San Francisco,
Yes.
going to the theater, and then he start to do all
The
the
makeup
makeup
and
and
the wig and
everything, and
everything.
the wig. It was just amazing.